Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Big Hairy Summer.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
and our super producer,
Riley Bray.
and of course, you know, it's Big Hairy Summer all summer long here on Bigfoot Collectors Club. We're sharing stories of high strangeness involving big, hairy monsters, both here on the regular feed and over on our Patreon, BCC, The Other Side. Boys, I'm going to have to save the chat for The Other Side. The chit-chat's gotta wait. I love you, boys. I'm happy to see you. We have two powerhouse guests with us this week. We've got to bring them right in, okay? Our guests today are one of the stars and the producer of the Q Code podcast, The Foxes of Hydesville. Please give a Club Scout salute to actress Christina Brucato and producer Adam Volerich.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Adam,
What's up, guys?
Chrissy, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Well, I'm great. How are you, Adam?
Doing swell. Yeah, happy to be here.
You guys are coming to us from the East Coast, correct?
That's right.
Mhm.
Oh, you guys are on. Oh, yeah, you guys are on the West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast.
Yeah.
How's Big Hairy Summer over on the East Coast? You guys seeing any? Has there been an uptick of Bigfoot activity over there in New York?
There's been a lot of sightings here in Dix Hills. I don't know about you, Adam, in New York City.
I haven't seen any Sasquatch over by me, but I've definitely been swarmed by all kinds of, different bugs that are invading. There's been all the Canadian wildfire smoke, so shit's gotten weird pretty quickly this summer.
Big weird summer's more like it, huh?
Yeah, big weird summer.
Now, Adam, tell us a little bit up top here about the Foxes of Hydesville, because I think the show will appeal to our listeners.
Sure. Actually, I think Chrissy would be most primed to lead us into that because Chrissy and her producing partner Mara were the people that first brought the Fox sisters to us.
Oh, great.
Okay, yeah. So the Fox sisters is a story of three sisters, Maggie Fox, Katie Fox, and Leah Fox, 1848. Katie and Maggie were the two younger sisters. They were living in Hydesville, New York, and their family started to hear rappings in their house, these unexplained rappings. And on March 31st, maybe April, I guess it was April 1st,
April 1st,
1848.
yeah.
April 1st, 1848.
You better get this right. Don't be at one day off. Can't be one day off.
Well, April 1st, that's a big day.
April Fool's Day,
Exactly.
which is why the story draws some criticism. They started to hear some rappings, and they brought it to their parents, and they started to ask questions to the noises, and the noises would answer the questions correctly. And they started inviting neighbors over, and they started, and then like word got out that there were spirits in the house that the girls were communicating with. And
Incredible.
then the girls ended up moving to their sister Leah in Rochester, and her sister Leah all of a sudden developed skills to talk to the dead as well. And they decided to start a little family business and that was pretty much the beginning of spiritualism.
So cool. And where today does the legacy of the Fox sisters stand? Have they been still upheld as the real deal, or are they considered to be frauds?
So here's the thing. Each of them, so Maggie Fox, the middle sister, wrote a book called A Death Blow to Spiritualism, debunking everything that she's done. Saying that they were using their knuckles and their toes. She actually made a public speech saying that we are frauds. Leah, the older sister, wrote a book called The Missing Link, which praises everything that they've done and holds their position that they were the founders of spiritualism. Later on, Maggie goes and debunks her debunk that she takes it back and says, yeah, we did it. So I think people are torn. Wouldn't you say, Adam? People are torn.
Yeah, people are torn, the sisters themselves included, but they do. It does sort of seem like the public sort of facing discussions they've had. It changes with how much financial need are they in, and what is the current public sort of receptivity to the activities they like to engage in.
Can I ask a question? Did you guys or did anybody ever unearth sort of a reason why? I guess it was Maggie who decided to write that book, that it was all fraud. I mean, was there motive there, or was she trying to throw people off the trail? Or
no, I mean, this is just speculation, but like they were drinking heavily at that time. They were. They were at each other's throats. There was a lot of resentment between Katie and Maggie versus Leah still. And I think they were just fucking with each other.
Yeah, I think Maggie wanted to burn the whole thing down, even if she got caught in the fire, know?
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sounds like a complicated Thanksgiving.
They were not doing well towards the end. No.
This is why families should never get into the medium business together. It's just
exactly. They always say that.
Too intense. Also, the idea of like the people are torn, that's how you can sum up people who enjoy anything involving the paranormal or the unexplained. Yeah. People are just torn. We're torn. Our listeners are torn. We don't know what to make of any of this stuff ultimately at the end of the day.
I mean, Mara Casson, my producing partner, and I, who brought this to Criminal Content, we are on opposite sides of the spectrum. I believe in the paranormal. She does not. So it was just always an interesting conversation. But regardless of the fact that she does not believe in the paranormal, she still thinks this is fascinating.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was all I had.
I was just going to say that's a perfect segue into the question that we ask all of our guests. What is your personal paranormal history? What do you believe about the paranormal, Chrissy? And have you ever experienced anything you couldn't explain?
I've always believed in the paranormal. I don't know why. It's not something that my family ever really discussed, but I always believed in the paranormal. I've always been, as a very small kid, I was afraid of ghosts. I always thought I was hearing things. But as I got older, I became really intrigued by them, to the point where, I had a Ouija board, and every time I went to a birthday party, I would get them a Ouija board.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Just opening portals all around your town.
Because I hated when I went over for a play date and they didn't have a Ouija board, and then we would have to build one, which I did many times with cardboard and plastic cups. So I've always believed in it. I haven't had a lot of experiences, but that's because I don't know what the reason is for that. I haven't had a lot of experiences, but I did have one experience.
All right.
I've always loved Halloween because I love spooky stuff. But then as I got older into my 20s, I wanted to spend Halloween going to haunted hotels or haunted bed and breakfasts. So one year we went to a place called the White House Inn in Wilmington, Vermont. And it was supposed to be very haunted, and we requested the most haunted room. They had a seance that night for the first time. There was there were some creepy things that went on in this house. There was this woman named Mrs. Brown that died in that house. It was her house for many years. And so we were all, drinking a little, and we were messing with the spirits a little. I think some of the people were, not me. Some of the people were, and we went to bed, and I think there was a rumor that somebody was strangled by the window, and so somebody at one point had said what are you gonna do, choke me by the window? And that person was sleeping, and all of a sudden they were laying down, and all of a sudden they were raised, the front, their top body was raised, and I woke up to the sound of them
What?
Oh man,
God!
And I had to shake him. And he was and he got shook out of it. And he said that it felt like somebody's hands were around his neck. And then we went back to bed eventually. And then the bathroom door was this old door. And all of a sudden, the whole room, there was 5 of us in the room. The whole room woke up to and the door was like, somebody was like rattling the door. And then we went over to the door, and there was a window where there was like moonlight coming in. All of a sudden, the moonlight just went dark.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
As if like something was like covering the light that was coming in.
Yeah.
Damn. And nobody went back to sleep after that. And we left like really regretting, maybe like, are we gonna like bring these spirits? Like we got like that's how rattled we were. But yeah, that was my one experience.
When you say raised, when you
not
say raised,
not he didn't
levitating.
Levitate. No.
Okay.
He would like, this is his bottom part.
Just like that
body.
horror movie thing, you know, where like,
and he was just like not quite, 90 degrees. He was like 45 degrees. And it was just,
Whoa, that's
terrifying.
Yeah, super. And honestly, you should be scared that someone's going to follow you home after that.
Stop it!
Yeah. That's a common theme. There's a lot of parallels. And when you're like tempting the spirits or you're challenging their power,
right?
That's when things start to amplify.
That was a no.
Yeah.
I didn't approve of that behavior. And
I love the moon going dark. That's so cool.
That was cool.
I'm curious if you had any weird stuff happen as a kid with these Ouija boards.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I feel like I was kind of like the Maggie and Katie Fox of the Ouija boards. Like I was moving it a little bit. Like I would move it, and like I told, like one of my friends thought like Bloody Mary was living in her Ouija board because I would write that I was Bloody Mary.
You're like forcing the plan, Chet.
Like, I would like wait, and like nothing happened. Then I had to have something happen, otherwise they wouldn't want to play with me anymore.
Sure.
You're eventually going to publish your memoir about how you bullshitted your entire Ouija board, childhood Ouija board circle, and you were a complete fraud this whole time.
Totally.
That's incredible. What about you, Adam? I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that you might be a Bigfoot enthusiast. But have you had any paranormal experiences like the kinds that Chrissy's describing?
Unfortunately I haven't, and I think generally I'm sort of more of a skeptic, but I like to believe that there is some mystery left in the world, and I think I find myself very attracted to the notion of like cryptids and like Bigfoot in particular, because it's like it's in a way it's sort of like the last like harmless conspiracy theory. It's like a thing you can get excited and interested in, and there's so much to learn and explore and imagine that doesn't hurt anyone. And
I love that.
I love
except
this
the
idea.
pride of men who go chase after the elusive creature.
And I love that. Like I love that is that there are people that go and do that. And that's like where I sort of like came to, Bigfoot from, was watching like, searching for Sasquatch like on TV and just being like, oh my God, this is like an amazing thing that like could be out there. And like the joy that I would see on people's faces when they would be like uncovering their, like their plaster casts of the feet and the things like this. And it's just something so pure and amazing. And I don't know, I just love it. I love the idea that Bigfoot is out there. I want to believe, Bigfoot is out there.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such a great point. You're right. I never really thought about it like that, but it does seem to be sort of that one sort of realm of the paranormal, Bigfoot hunting, that still has that cachet of childhood charm. It's not engulfed in just mucus and controversy. I like it. Although I could bring up a point or two about the government's knowledge of Bigfoot, but I don't want to soil it too much.
But I love also that there's such like a rich like history to like the Bigfoot hunting, and I went real deep on it a few years ago, and it just seems like such a part of like this like side piece of sort of like American like anthropology and academia, and like I find that so interesting as well, that like it permeates all these different walks of life and all these different circles.
Yeah, because there is arguably, if there were a bipedal undiscovered primate walking through the woods, like we need zoologists, we need primatologists.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need, it's easier to imagine the realm of science when you're talking about an animal that hasn't been discovered than it might be when you're talking about what's on the other side of the veil. Something that we can't even conclusively prove exists, but we do know that primates exist. So there is this wonderful, even if sometimes it does have the more fantastic sides to it, which we have discovered, the Bigfoot, Bigfoot lore encompasses everything from ghosts to UFOs to all of it, but I do get excited. And we've been doing that this summer, just all the big names that came out of the Bigfoot, like John Green and Ivan T. Sanderson, like all of these explorers and primatologists and zoologists and biologists that are trying to prove that this thing exists, especially in the 50s and 60s, is so fascinating.
Cold turkey may be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits.
That's right. We're not talking about being mind-wiped by our alien gray friend, Kluski. We're talking about our sponsor, Fume, who looks at the problem in a different way.
Instead of a drastic, uncomfortable change, why not just remove the bad from your habit?
Fume is an innovative, award-nominated device. It does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all-natural, delicious flavors.
You guys get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy.
Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habit. I've been carrying around the Fume with me when I've been on touring and traveling and such, and
we've seen you carry it in person. We've now seen it in your hand.
You've seen the Fume in the wild, and I do tend to. I like to sort of hold it and twirl it. It has a nice sort of weighting to it and balance to it, like a fine sword. And it is a great little fidgety device. And then you get that nice kind of hit of effervescent pepper or mint, and it's a lovely little device to make a part of your daily life.
Yeah, I love their little award-designed flavor sticks, is what you might call them. They got some really interesting flavors in there. So when you inhale
maple?
this, the peppered maple is great. It kind of puts a little spark in the back of your throat. So when you inhale this thing, it's kind of nice. You get a little bit of that bite.
Listen, don't rely on aliens to break your bad habits.
Stopping is something we all put off because it's hard. But switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories. And there's no reason that can't be you.
Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use code BCC to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today.
That's tryfum.com and use code BCC to save an additional 10% off your order today. Well, why don't we do this? We're going to play a game with you guys that we play with all of our guests, and we're really going to give you guys a chance to flex what you believe in and what you don't believe in. I'm going to go down a list of phenomena, rapid fire style. There's no on the fence in this one. If you're open to it, you say believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit.
Do we say it at the same time?
Yeah, you guys can. We'll suss it out. And and if there's any that you really are like, I got to come back to this one. We'll come back to it after and unpack it after we finish the list. Okay. Adam, Chrissy, this is a game that we like to call bullshit
or believe it.
Okay.
Okay, you two. On your mark, get set, ghosts.
Believe.
Bullshit.
Bigfoot.
Believe.
Believe.
UFOs.
Believe.
Believe.
Mothman.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Dogman.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Bat Squatch.
Bullshit.
Hairy alien UFO knots.
Believe it.
Yeah, I don't know that one, but I like the sound of it, so I'm going to say believe it.
Cool.
Sidebar, I forgot to mention this is the big hairy edition of Bullshit or Believe It, so there's a lot of hairy cryptids in this one. The Beast of Gavaldon. This was a giant wolf that attacked a village in France back in the 1700s.
Believe it.
Goat Man.
Believe it.
That's a bullshit for me.
Momo, the Bigfoot of Missouri.
Believe it.
Believe it.
The Yowie, the Bigfoot of Australia.
Believe it.
The Jersey Devil.
Absolutely.
Bullshit.
Mystery big cats. People are seeing big cats out there, and they don't
Believe
know
it.
what.
Believe it. Yeah, sure.
Sasquatch.
Believe it.
Bigfoot bodies were recovered after the eruption of Mount St. Helens.
Ooh. Believe it.
Believe it. That's an article, right?
Bigfoot creatures have penetrated the subterranean infrastructure of Edwards Air Force Base.
Whoa. I had not heard that. I'm going to call bullshit, but I would like to learn more.
It's a doozy.
Believe it.
Good stance.
You, Adam, and you, Chrissy, could outsmart a werewolf.
Believe it.
Bullshit.
Adam.
I could not outsmart a werewolf. If they've been hiding in plain sight, I can't outsmart them.
Interdimensional Sasquatch.
That is where I draw the line.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I call bullshit on the interdimensionality of the Bigfoot.
All right.
Telepathic
Like
Sasquatch.
Bullshit.
Yeah, also bullshit.
Invisible Sasquatch.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but also would explain a lot of things. So I'll say believe it.
Oh.
Bigfoot looks blurry in every photo because he is blurry.
Bullshit.
Believe it.
Finally, in our original timeline, the famous Bear family's last name was spelled Berenstein, not Berenstain.
Yes, Berenstein all the way. Believe it.
Okay. Sure.
Well done.
Okay.
Wow.
Ends with a bit of a whimper from Chrissy, but well done, everybody. Now, are there any ones that you'd want to go back and circle back to and unpack a little bit?
I want
Edwards
to
Air
know
Force
about
Base?
Bigfoot going into Edwards Air Force Base. I've never heard this.
So we covered this back. Oh gosh, man, this must have been in our
I'll
first
find it.
20 episodes with Aaron Hayes, I believe, was the guest. And this we're doing stories about desert Bigfoot stories. And out in the desert here, there's Edwards Air Force Base, and they were seeing there's guys who came out and said, you know, off the record on background, saying that they had a bunch of UFO activity out there.
Yeah.
And then they also were seeing coming out of the caves around the base these giant Bigfoot-like creatures that they were ordered not to shoot and not to kill. And at one point, they said they managed to figure out how to get into the subterranean infrastructure of Edwards Air Force Base. And there was allegedly video of them, but the video was taken and made classified. And they also, during the study, decided that the UFOs and the Bigfoot had nothing to do with one another. This is all wild stuff that was allegedly
That's
happening
wild.
in the 70s and 80s, I believe.
So this is the
love
government.
that.
This is one of the government cover-ups that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and these were former a couple guys that independently came out, kind of like the way that the whistleblower stuff is happening right now with the UFO stuff, and saying, "Hey, we've seen these creatures. We would track them in our night vision. We had a helicopter follow one and watched it bound across the rocks and like disappear into caves." They were like, they're there. They're benign. They're not trying to hurt us, but they were very interested in what we were doing out there.
So has anybody gone into those caves?
Not that we know of.
Well, and it also sort of it lends credence to this idea that there must be something else going on because there's not a lot of like large trees to hide behind. How are they going to break into a maximum security Air Force base? And so it seems to hint at a larger world of high strangeness, that perhaps there's something going on with these cryptid creatures that may not all be just flesh and blood. You know, it may be part of some type of, paranormal activity in general, perhaps
Bryce, you're losing
people...
Adam. You're losing Adam. You're getting Chrissy.
You
know what?
You're losing Adam.
I put a lot of thought into Bigfoot. All right, I will say this. So, and like I think the fact that there are myths of references to Bigfoot across so many different cultures, across so many different parts of the world, like, to me, it seems like unavoidable that there. Maybe if there isn't currently in this moment, although I hope there is, there was at some point some sort of Sasquatch or Bigfoot inhabiting our world. Now, when it comes to stuff like this, you don't lose me when you go paranormal, because the thing that makes sense to me, we're sort of joking about like, oh, Bigfoot is blurry, that's why he's not in any images. Right. Like, sure, there's plenty of ways you can go with that. However, I would believe that a completely real zoological creature had an ability to vibrate its body on a specific enough frequency that it would fool a camera. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, nature is incredible, and its defense mechanisms are ad infinitum. Who's to say that they couldn't somehow be able to refract the light using their fur or their hair? But I did want to show you a great picture taken.
I feel like I just caught a heavy sigh coming out of Chrissy after you said that, Bryce.
Yeah, no, totally. I get it.
No,
It's
hard sell.
Totally trying to hard sell interdimensional
around.
and telepathic and wall going through Bigfoot. There was a great photo taking out of Skinwalker Ranch where I'm sure you've probably heard about it. It's the Skinwalker Ranch is just about synonymous with paranormal activity now, and a lot of more people know about it. But
I don't know about it. What is that?
Oh, well, so Skinwalker Ranch is this place in northeastern Utah where about 25 years ago, a man by the name of Robert Bigelow bought the property, and he installed 24-hour surveillance. He installed a scientific team called NIDS. And basically, he monitored the property 24/7. But there's this great photo that they used to have on their website. One time they were up in a deer blind, sort of surveying the property, and they saw this what looked like a portal start to develop and open up, and this creature sort of grabbed this portal, and he stepped out of it. This large, sort of hairy creature they described. And it sort of meandered off into the woods, hinting at this idea that perhaps, these large hairy cryptids, maybe even a Bigfoot, are connected to these portals that were opening and closing on the property. Anyway, they took a picture. I managed to screen grab it before the website was long been taken down, but I wonder if I can show it.
It's on Pinterest. I just threw a link.
There you go. Link. So that's the portal. You can see the portal, and you can see what looks like some type of creature coming out of it. And anyway, that's one of my
creatures.
Right? Isn't that wild?
On a cell phone held up to a laptop
that's proof,
camera.
Riley. That's how you do proof. That's
link,
podcast proof, Riley.
Check out the link in the show in the chat that I sent. I'll also put this in the show notes and on Instagram. I also love, Bryce, that you're like, I managed to pull this photo off the web before it was taken down, and I literally just Googled Skinwalker portal Bigfoot video, and it's on Pinterest.
Well, it adds to the allure, Michael. That's how you do that. Intrigue. Right. Yeah.
I got into Edwards Air Force Base. I fought my way through a crowd of Bigfoot in a hallway. I retrieved the photo, and I got it out of there, guys.
I hit Shift Command 4, and I did a screen grab, and boom, it was in my phone.
Adam, what do you have you taken a look at this, Adam? What do you think?
I've taken a look at it. I'm having a hard time. It's quite blurry. So it's hard for me to sort of understand what it is I'm looking at.
Sure.
The white blob is the portal, and then to the right you'll sort of see a head, shoulder, and what looks like maybe the chest of a creature that's coming out of the portal. That's the same shit. The portal is also sort of like an outline, sort of in a Looney Tunes style. It's sort of like the outline of the character
Kool-Aid
that's coming
man
through
bursting through the wall.
Right.
Yeah. No, I do see. I do see that. Look, it's not enough information in the image for me to conclusively say one thing or another, but I see the outline. I see what we're talking about here.
Great. Look, if we can move you closer to the fence, we've done our job.
Yeah. It's remarkable how much more intelligent these things sound coming out of a man with a British accent's mouth. As opposed
I know,
to
it's true.
Bigfoot has never
It
sounded
puts
more
me on-
legit than today.
yeah, so
puts
much
me
more
immediately on the
credible.
defense, doesn't it? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
wait a minute here.
I'm on your side. I'm not.
I'm saying
not,
you're helping our
I'm not all
argument.
this.
You're helping.
But I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
so you look at that picture, and people's first instinct is a portal.
I will say it's not my first instinct,
For
but
me, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that's a spirit, that's a ghost, that's. But your
Yeah,
first
that's
instinct, but your first instinct is a portal to a Sasquatch.
Well, it's taken from the
Bigfoot.
context of how they gathered that photo. The scientists on the property sort of described it as a large, what they look like, a large bipedal creature, and then
Got it. Okay,
They
that
said
was
there were
walked
two-
off into the woods. Yeah,
There were two guys that said they literally saw a thing appear out of like a portal in the middle of the air, hold onto the sides of the portal and pull itself through. Like it was coming out of an air duct and then
Very Looney
hopped on the
Tunes.
ground and ran off into the brush.
That's cool.
it's pretty
Strange.
Pretty cool stuff. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for this week's story of high strangeness. This episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. Hey, that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Fall is right around the corner, and HelloFresh is here to help you plan for the busy season ahead with tasty, delicious dishes delivered to your door. Simply choose your recipes and pick your delivery date, then lay back and enjoy the last days of summer knowing that dinner is covered. I always get depressed at the end of summer, especially Big Hairy Summer. We've been having so much fun. But you know what? You can banish the end of summer blues with HelloFresh. There's no need to stress about how you're going to handle it all this fall because HelloFresh takes care of the meal planning and delivers pre-portioned ingredients right to your home. So whipping up a homemade meal is a cinch. Look, I know you guys got a lot to do. If you have kids, parents, you got back to school shopping and planning to do. You know what? Let HelloFresh get the groceries and save you some cash with pre-portioned meals delivered right to your door. Listen, it's Michael here. I'm talking to you straight. Would I lie to you? Never. I eat HelloFresh every week. Have done so for months now. My girlfriend and I, we get a box delivered to our place, and I'm telling you, this is so fun. It's so easy. I am not a natural in the kitchen, okay? But HelloFresh, these are recipes that even I can cook, and they, you know what? They end up tasting great. There's not been a recipe yet that I can think of where I was like, that's gross. This stuff is all good, and it just saves. I love knowing that I don't have to think about what's for dinner. We have options. We can just pick a meal. We can make it. We don't have to order in. We don't have to go out and get food. We save so much money. It's great. So go to HelloFresh.com/50BCC and use code 50BCC for 50% off plus free shipping. That's offer code 50BCC for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, we're back, and it's time for this week's story of high strangeness. And I picked something today, especially for Christine Adam, because of the Foxes of Hydesville podcast. This is a story that I've kind of been wanting to get to for a little while, and I'm very excited that we get to do it this big hairy summer. So longtime listeners may recall Bryce and I once kicked around the idea of calling this podcast Bigfoot is a Ghost. It's a phrase that truncates one of our favorite perspectives on the paranormal phenomenon, that ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, they all might be one and the same. Now, some manifestation of some intelligence from the other side of the veil showing itself in many different forms for purposes that we can only speculate upon. There are aspects of the Bigfoot phenomenon that support the idea that they might be some type of corporeal materialization from beyond. Bigfoot will sometimes appear and then vanish into thin air. become invisible, or pop out of some type of portal like we just talked about. Orbs of light, most often associated with ghosts and UFOs, are also seen side by side with Bigfoot. And then there's just the simple pitch. What if Bigfoots are ghosts of primitive hominids that haunt the forest? If Bigfoot is a ghost, could they be summoned using traditional methods of the spiritualist movement? The answer may surprise you because, dear Club Scouts, it has been done. This week on High Strangeness, we are talking about Sasquatch seances.
Yes.
Nice.
Now, Chrissy, I'm interested in any of your research, and Adam, did you guys come across any of this stuff?
No, absolutely not.
No, I mean, we got into all sorts of, the Foxes has got into all sorts of things, like sort of creating the first Ouija board and doing automatic writing and channeling. And they had a wide variety of ways that they were, claiming to be communicating with the spirit realm. But at no point did we have them contacting Sasquatch. I think there was even a thing about them.
Maybe season 2.
Maybe. I think there was a thing about them not even being
it.
willing to contact pets, if I remember correctly. I mean,
Yeah.
Chrissy, maybe you can correct me on that. Yeah.
I can't remember if that was something that we read or something that we created in our heads.
Well, I knew
So hard
I know
to tell
from
these days.
and honestly, like, seances should have their own high strangeness, but one of the things that I found interesting in researching this was that part of this stuff was like this idea of ectoplasm and spirits using the form of ectoplasm, something that they're pulling. It seems like ectoplasm was something that they were pulling from the material world, like energy from the people that were sitting in the seances to form a face or form a hand. And it would take so much, according to the mediums and according to the lore, it would take so much energy for someone or something on the other side to materialize that sometimes only a face would appear or sometimes only a hand would appear. They also talked about this idea of sometimes the spirits may have a difficult time knowing what they look like or how to present themselves in a 3-dimensional form, so they would get 2-dimensional apparitions and all sorts of bits and pieces, but very rarely the full form apparition would materialize into a room. So I found that kind of fascinating. So we know of at least 3 ape-like creatures that allegedly materialized during seances back in the early 20th century and then later in the mid-20th century. The first 2 beings, who may be the same being for all we know, are respectively known as the Pithecanthropus and Fango. Both of these entities were witnessed by a man by the name of Gustav Gili, who, from 1919 to 1924, served as the head of the Institut Metaphysique International, a paranormal research society that Gili also co-founded, which was based in Paris.
Cool.
Gili was an old-school Club Scout, a boots-on-the-ground paranormal investigator who wanted to find proof that the phenomenon was real. And he was also somewhat impressionable, just like us. One could say that his passion for the paranormal subject and openness made him an easy target for frauds and hoaxes during the spiritualist movement. But that's not to say that he didn't experience some genuine moments of high strangeness. The materialization of the Pithecanthropus occurred during a seance conducted by Polish medium Franek Kluski. Kluski, based on what I've read, deserves his own deep dive episode. Kluski was born as Theofil Martejowski in Warsaw in 1873. Kluski claimed that he had developed psychic powers as a child and grew up seeing dead people. So if you believed his story, he'd be the real-life version of Haley Joel Osment's character from The Sixth Sense. But a lot of people didn't believe his story. In the late 1910s and early 1920s, he was known around European circles as the medium who could manifest partial body parts, animals, ectoplasmic constructs, and apparitions during seances. He was regarded by many, like Harry Houdini and English paranormal investigator Harry Price, who we've discussed on the show, to be a fraud. But he had defenders in the likes of Gustav Gili and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Geely was sent to study Kluski and attended multiple sessions during which Kluski apparently manifested an ape-like being in July and August of 1919. Geely reported that during the sitting, the apparition of a half-man, half-ape-like creature with reddish-brown fur and a high forehead that ended in tangled hair appeared before the sitters. The creature, which Geely noted smelled like a wet dog, allegedly manifested several times over the course of multiple sessions, often smacking its mouth, taking hands of the sitters into its own large hand and licking them. And during a session in August of 1919, Geely noted that the apparition manifested again. It was a creature as large as an adult man, very hairy, with a mane and bushy beard, resembling an animal or very primitive man. Did not speak, but made hoarse noises, clicked its tongue, and ground its teeth. When called, he approached, allowed his fur to be stroked, touched the hands of the sitters, and scratched them lightly with claws rather than nails. This was an improvement on previous sittings when he was violent and rough. Due to the being's resemblance to primitive man, Geely called the being Pithecanthropus. It wouldn't be the last time Geely encountered such an enigma. In 1923, Geely hosted medium Jan Guzyk, another polarizing psychic from Poland, who conducted a series of sessions in Geely's laboratory in Paris. Among the attendees was Sir Oliver Lodge, a British physicist, and his wife. During the second seance, in which all the attendees were chained together to prevent trickery or sleight of hand, Guzyk manifested another ape-like creature. Oliver Lodge made notes of the experience for Geely's research. He described the encounter like this.
I am touched on the back by a fist. Then something passed over my head, slid over my face, and fell on my hands. It was Lady Lodge's hat, coming from the sofa behind her and to the right. The hands of the medium were held all the time by the little fingers. Lady Lodge is touched by a tame animal, and with the back of her hand she feels something like the hairy beast of a large dog standing on its hind legs, or a man of small stature. We hear the sound of steps, which were those of a man rather than those of a dog. The ladies thought it might be a large ape or orangutan. Lady Lodge was the only one to feel it on this occasion, the sensation given by the touch of this fur, which seemed to cover a firm breast. It was very peculiar. There was no light despite our wish for it.
So all of this is happening in the dark, right? Which is a little questionable, but because we'll talk about it. So Lady Lodge corroborated that she had taken off her hat and placed it on the sofa, too far from her to move it during the seance. Remember, they're all chained together. And even further still from Guzyk, who seemed to be out cold or in a deep sleep-like trance. Lady Lodge claimed to have felt the creature feel around her hair and then float her hat across the table. Now, as Oliver Lodge mentioned, this was all happening in the dark because according to Guzyk, ectoplasm, the physical medium through which the spirits manifested themselves, was very vulnerable to light. So, to offset the effects, a red light could be turned on to help catch a glimpse of a manifestation. But in this case, when the red light turned on, there was no hairy ape man standing in the room. There was just nothing. Now, one of the reasons the Lodges were interested in contacting the other side was because they lost their son, Raymond Lodge, during World War I. A few days after the hat incident took place in Geely's laboratory, Geely conducted another session with Guzyk. This time, Lady Lodge opted out, but Oliver Lodge joined the assembly. In between these sessions, the Lodges had spoken with a different medium who channeled Raymond, who informed his parents that the creature in Paris was not an ape, but a primitive man whose name was Fango. So, when the being returned in the following session at Geely's lab, Oliver Lodge began to ask it questions directly.
Is this Fango? The creature seemed pleased and touched me twice. I asked if that meant yes, and was again touched twice. I asked if he knew Raymond, and if the latter were present. The answer was yes. It is Raymond who touches me. He answered no by touching me once.
At one point, Lodge reached back and touched the head of Fango.
I wanted to touch Fango's head. It was round and hard like that of a man whose hair was cut short. Oh, Fango, you old boy, you.
Which leaves us to wonder, was Fango just a man wandering around in the dark, hired by Geely or Guzyk? Or had two separate mediums managed to summon the apparition of some primitive spirit? One clue to what the ape-like creature might actually be came through a medium named Gladys Osborne Leonard, who channeled Raymond's spirit regularly for the lodges. These poor parents, just in their grief, going to see every medium they can to try to talk to their son.
Man.
So during one of those sessions, Oliver asked Raymond, and this was after the stuff happened with Fango in the laboratory, he asked Raymond, who's being channeled through Gladys, about Fango, and it was explained that Fango wasn't a ghost or an animal spirit. It was a construct given temporary life by the sitters in the room. In other words, a type of tulpa that was manifested by the energy of the people in the room. According to Lodge, Raymond's spirit conveyed, there's life in them, but the manifestation is temporary. It crumbles and dwindles away. If you were behind the scenes, Father, you would not see a discarnate animal withdrawing himself from the seance conditions and going back to his own spiritual home. You would see something disintegrating and being drawn back gradually and absorbed again by one or more people on your side. So, Bigfoot's a tulpa? Let's jump ahead to 1955. The spiritualist movement has come and gone, but apparitions of hairy hominids continue to appear in unexpected places. In his book, The Bigfoot Book, author Nick Redfern notes that British psychologist Stan Gooch, author of Creatures from Inner Space and the Neanderthal Question, attended a seance in Coventry, England, where a caveman-like being materialized before a room of very surprised attendees. And here is the experience in Gooch's words. This was a crouching ape-like shape, which became clearer as the moments passed. I guess it approximated to most people's idea of what an ancient caveman would look like. Yet one could not make out too much detail. The eyes were hidden, for example, and stood in half shadow, watching us, breathing heavily as if nervous. I must say, though, that I sensed rather than heard the breathing. I could not decide whether our visitor was wearing the skin of some animal or whether it had a rough coat of hair of its own. Whatever these manifestations may be, real or not, it certainly makes one think a little differently about big hairy monsters, given the context. But I defer to our guests, Adam, Chrissy. What the hell was that?
I don't know. I've never heard of this combination ever. And I mean, I'm admittedly have not read. I have not done as much research as Adam has on.
I think this is a fringe stuff, though.
This is fringe. This is fringe. Yeah, I don't know. This is weird and interesting, and I want to read more about it.
Can I ask? I apologize for my lack of understanding, but what is a tulpa?
So basically, a tulpa is a thought form that materializes in the physical world. So I think it comes from ancient Jewish
Tibetans
mythology or Tibetan. Okay,
Yeah, it's from Tibetan monks.
Sorry.
What they would do is the idea of the tulpa is that if enough people sort of gathered belief and as much detail on something in their mind, that they could actually bring it into a physical manifestation. And, there was a great experiment, we've talked about it on the podcast, called Philip the Ghost. It was done in Toronto by a group of paranormal investigators where they wanted to test this idea of the tulpa. And so they started to create this sort of character that they called Philip the Ghost, and they filled in as much detail as they could. As an actress, Chrissy, it would be like doing as much background and creating a backstory for something as possible. And they all agreed on the circumstances of Philip's past and his horrifying death, and they started to hold seances to see if they could communicate with Philip. And the more as the experiment went on, the more and more that this tulpa of Philip started to react and respond in kind to the backstory that these people had created. So in essence, they had created this ghost out of thin air or their own minds, really. And so that's the idea of this tulpa, that if enough people believe in something wholeheartedly, that it can actually manifest itself into our material world.
There's your season 2 right there, because a lot of controversy surrounding that as well. I think there are people who felt like they were frauding, but this idea of the tulpa stands, that it's this thought form. There's stories of every Christmas we'll do stories where people claim to have seen images of Santa Claus hovering over their house or in the night sky, as if they're witnessing a UFO or witnessing a ghost. And so there's a theory that maybe because the belief system in Santa Claus and how many stories are behind him and all this stuff has created some sort of thought form in real physical space that can be seen from time to time. It's kind of like a waking dream projection in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But it's a wild
like the
thing.
Inverse of seeing is believing. It's believing is seeing.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Well
And
said.
this idea, I mean, we hear these spooky stories, a lot of them fictionalized, but these idea of like little kids who have imaginary friends, and parents will be like, wait a minute, I thought I heard somebody talking back, or I thought, you know what I mean? I thought something happened, and the kid says, that wasn't me. That was, that was Phil. That was my friend. That was so there's sort of precedent for this in the culture, whether or not it actually
I feel like that was like a
happens.
rule whenever I was, whenever I've tried to do seances and whenever I've tried to, contact anything, there was a rule that if you weren't allowed to be there if you didn't believe, because it would fuck everything up.
Yeah, it could shake the foundation.
It messes with the energy, and it wouldn't work if there was somebody there that didn't deep down believe.
And this idea of that sometimes what was being manifested in the room was coming from the unconscious minds of the people sitting there, not from a spirit realm. Right. So it was sort of taking what was inside your brain and projecting it outside of your body.
Yeah. This idea of Bigfoot showing up in seances, it makes me want to invite Chrissy over to the clubhouse and see if we can all do a Ouija board and communicate with a Sasquatch. Has that ever been done? Let's talk to Sassy on the Ouija.
This is what I want to take a Ouija board out in the woods and do that. I think that would be really fun.
Do you
Maybe
guys
we get a
own
hold
Ouija
of Fango.
boards?
I have
Do
one.
you guys-
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
I
I'm
do.
afraid of them. I
actually got rid of mine because I'm so scared of it.
Yeah, there's one in my house that's like a vintage one from Mexico, and there's also apparently a
glow-in-the-dark
ghost in
one.
my house, and there's a whole thing on our Patreon about it. But we had two different mediums come to the house, and both of them, when they walked in, they saw the Ouija board, and they were like, "Oh, well, that shouldn't be here."
Oh,
Yeah, we did a
So
double blind
did
ghost
you
hunt.
did you get rid of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it came back,
so.
we've got to explore that more on the other side.
I mean,
Wait,
who
the
can
Ouija
say?
board
Who
came
can
back,
say?
or the ghost came back?
No,
No,
his
the Ouija
ghost.
board never left. It's too cool. But the ghost, I left. Who knows? Who knows if a ghost
Okay.
is here or not? That's sort of the whole thing about a ghost, right?
Right.
I'm afraid to
Sure.
talk about it, guys. Is the ghost there in the room? Are you safe, Brian?
I'm
just-
Blink
no.
twice. Blink twice if the ghost is in the room with you now.
I did move my studio right next to the ghost's
that's
room.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
Oh,
you'll have
boy.
to join our
He's
Patreon to
listening.
hear more about that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, Adam, Chrissy, thank you so much for being with us today. Talk about where I know we're in the middle of the SAG strike, so plugs are really hard for us actors. But
Yes.
Adam, where can people find the Foxes of Hydesville?
Yeah, so you can find the Foxes of Hydesville wherever you get your podcasts, and of course also in the with a Q Code Plus subscription, you can get it ad free, which is always nice. And we didn't say earlier, we talked at length about the Fox sisters themselves, but our take on the show is sort of driven by the perspective of Leah, the eldest sister, who is serving as their kind of their manager, kind of their momager, very much in a sort of painting her as kind of like an early sort of example of a female CEO who is building this business and trying to carve out a place for herself and her sisters in the world. Chrissy, of course, plays Maggie, and then Kerry Mulligan leads the cast as Leah. We've got Phoebe Tonkin in there as one of their associates, Adelaide Granger, and then we have McKenna Grayson there as Casey Fox, and it's just an amazing cast and very immersive sound design. So if you want to get spooked while you're on your commute, it really is a great listen.
Fantastic. Yeah, I listened to the first episode. It's great. I'm going to
me
keep
too.
going. I love it.
On a binge. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being socials. Chrissy, where can people find you?
Instagram at Chrissy Brucato.
Great. Adam?
Great. Yeah, you can find me on all social media at Adam Vole. That's Vole. And I actually also host a film podcast called Eye of the Duck, where we go week by week and we try to sort of crystallize what a film is by discussing its most important scene. I co-host that with Dom Nero.
Fun. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Can't wait to finish Foxes of Hydesville. And just always a pleasure meeting new friends, and especially Bigfoot and paranormal enthusiasts here in the clubhouse. Thanks, guys. All right. Don't forget to click that follow button on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app so you never miss a single episode of BCC. And you know what? We want to hear from you. So please rate and review the show while you're there. And if you drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we might read it on the show. Like Riley, find us a 5-star review. Go.
Like this one from Corn Sugar. What can I say? Funny, entertaining, and downright interesting. If you have a love of myths, legends, and weirdness, this is the place for you. Glad to know I am not the only weird one out there. Bring on season 4 of Expedition Bigfoot already. 5 stars.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Ha-ha.
Aha.
All right. Thank you, Corn Sugar Girl. I can't remember what you said.
Corn Sugar?
Corn Sugar Girl. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and now Threads at Bigfoot Collectors Club and on TikTok at BCC Pod. And please write into us with your own personal paranormal history at BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com. And you know what? If you're all caught up on BCC and you want more, there's more. Check out our Patreon, BCC The Other Side. Unlock 3 bonus episodes every month. Our entire episode library. Get access to the BCC Discord, discounts on merch, upgrade to the Cosmic tier, and unlock 3 additional BCC soundtracks by Riley. We just dropped the Mamas Don't Let Your Babies podcast track that we did in episode 252. That's all over at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club. And when you join, we're going to thank you. It's time for Patreon shout-outs of the week. Welcome, dear Club Scouts, to the other side. Caleb Gosselin.
Thank you, Caleb.
Noah Kalos.
Thank you.
Dana Stinson. Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Dana. Welcome.
Sonia Leonardon.
Thanks, Sonia.
Spencer A. Lutz. Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Spencer. Welcome.
Jonathan Resendez. Cosmeteer.
Thanks, Jonathan. Welcome.
Soundbite.
Soundbite. Thank you.
Tony, now this says VA, so I don't know if that's Tony Virginia, but Tony VA, Cosmeteer.
Tony Virginia. Thank you and welcome.
Martin Galvin, Cosmeteer.
Thank you, Martin. Welcome.
And finally, Platinum Squad, Cosmeteer.
Platinum Squad. Welcome.
I'm going to thank Caleb
Nice.
Gosselin one more time because I sort of messed up their name. Well, I'm not really doing any plugs other than my Instagram at McMills. As we mentioned, we're in the middle of a SAG-AFTRA strike right now, so we're not supposed to be plugging stuff for companies that we've struck against. But I will say this. If you're a fan of the show, you know our regular intro is Come Alone by a band called Suneaters. They will be playing in Chicago very soon. The Suneaters and Tours are playing at Phyllis's Musical Inn in Chicago, Illinois on August 12th. Bands start playing at 8 p.m. So if you're in the Chicago area, go check out Suneaters.
Do it. Go to that.
Works for
Bryce,
me.
what do you got?
Yo, I'm on those socials. You can find me there. I'm on Instagram at Bryce O. Johnson and on Twitter at Mr. Bryce Johnson. Actually, it's the other way around. Have fun with that.
Yeah, you figured
You'll
out.
find him. Just look for that handsome mug. I'm Peace Drone on Instagram, and I started posting a few videos on YouTube. I'm at Peace_Drone. because someone
Whoa.
beat me to my name, but I've been posting these Stable Diffusion AI videos that I've been making and setting them to like little snippets of scores from the show. They're
Cool.
Great.
Really, really trippy. I know we're all worried about AI coming for our jobs, but unless your job is maker of nightmares, the AI that I'm doing will not be a threat to you. So come check it out. I don't know. They're fun.
Cool. Yeah, they were pretty spooky. Riley, I know Tommy's going to be back out on the road in the fall. So I want to let everyone...
We are.
If you're not following at the name Tommy on Instagram. Definitely do, because
Do that too, yeah.
tour
And
dates will be
Spotify
up
as well.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
yeah,
got
yeah.
a tour offer, and I think it's all happening, and there will be mini dates announced soon.
Okay, so
Killer.
keep your eyes peeled on that. All right, everyone. If we don't see you on the other side, we'll see you back here next Wednesday for an all-new episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. Until then, good night.
And go get regressed.
Henceforth.
You sounded like Tyrion Lannister.
Go get regressed.
Yeah.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is executive produced by Michael McMillan, Riley Bray, and Bryce Johnson. Our show is engineered, produced, and scored by Riley Bray. Our theme song, Come Alone, is by Suneaters. Follow them on Spotify. Want more BCC? For exclusive full-length episodes every month and total access to the other side, check out patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club.